Mars, stepping stone or dead end? Imagine standing on the surface of Mars feeling the crunch of alien soil beneath your boots. The gravity is lighter, the air is poison, and home is a tiny speck of light 140 million miles away. You are quite literally further from help than any human has ever been. But here is the question that haunts every Mars mission planner, every space visionary, every dreamer looking up at that red dot in our night sky. Is Mars humanity's next great home, our stepping stone to the cosmos? Or are we chasing a beautiful, deadly mirage that will consume our resources and dreams, leaving us stranded on a barren world? Today, we're going to explore the most consequential question of our species' future, because the answer will determine whether Mars becomes humanity's greatest triumph or its most expensive grave. Mars has been calling to us long before we had rockets to answer. When Percival Lowell gazed through his telescope in the year 1877 and thought he saw canals carved by intelligent beings, he was not just making an observation. He was expressing humanity's deepest longing, the need to find we are not alone and that life can flourish beyond Earth. Fast forward to today, and that longing has transformed into something far more urgent. We have sent rovers, we have mapped every crater, we have even flown a helicopter in its thin atmosphere. We know Mars is not the canal-covered world Lowell imagined. Instead, we have discovered something perhaps more tantalizing, a planet that was once remarkably Earth-like. 4 billion years ago, Mars had rivers, lakes, possibly even oceans. It had a thick atmosphere, a magnetic field, and conditions that could have supported life. Then something catastrophic happened. The magnetic field collapsed, the atmosphere bled away into space, and Mars transformed from a blue-green world into the frozen desert we see today. This revelation changes everything. Mars is not just another planet. It is Earth's cautionary tale written in rust and ice. And that makes our relationship with it infinitely more complex. Let us confront the brutal mathematics of Mars colonization. The journey alone is a 6 to 9 month odyssey through a radiation-soaked void that bombards every cell in an astronaut's body. Once there, the challenges multiply exponentially. The Martian atmosphere is 95% carbon dioxide with virtually no oxygen, less than 1%. The atmospheric pressure is so low that without a pressure suit your blood would literally boil. The soil contains toxic perchlorates that would poison any attempt at agriculture. And then there is the radiation. Without Earth's magnetic field and thick atmosphere for protection, colonists would absorb radiation doses equivalent to getting a chest X-ray every few days. Temperatures swing from 195 degrees below zero in winter to a balmy 70 degrees in summer at the equator. But here is the kicker. These are not just engineering problems, they are biological ones. Recent studies suggest that the low gravity on Mars, just 38% of Earth's, could cause irreversible bone loss, muscle atrophy, and cardiovascular deconditioning. Children born on Mars might never be able to survive on Earth. Yet despite these sobering realities, something remarkable is happening. Private companies are pouring billions into Mars technology. SpaceX's Starship is explicitly designed for Mars missions. NASA's Artemis program views the Moon as a stepping stone to Mars. We are not just dreaming about Mars anymore, we are actively preparing for it. This raises the fundamental question: are we solving humanity's long-term survival problem, or are we creating an even bigger one? Here is where Mars becomes more than a destination. It becomes a mirror reflecting our deepest anxieties and aspirations. The drive to colonize Mars emerges from a profound existential fear that Earth, our only home, is fragile and finite. Climate change, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, nuclear war, the threats are real and terrifying. Mars represents humanity's ultimate backup plan, our species' insurance policy written in rocket fuel and steel. But this raises uncomfortable questions about human nature itself. Are we fleeing our problems rather than solving them? Is the dream of Mars an expression of our pioneering spirit, or an admission that we have given up on Earth? Consider this parallel. Every great human migration in history has been driven by necessity, not choice. The Polynesians did not cross the Pacific for adventure. They were seeking new homes as populations grew. European colonization of the Americas was not driven by wanderlust, it was driven by resource scarcity and political oppression. If we are being honest, Mars colonization follows this pattern. We are not going because Mars is appealing. We're going because staying on Earth feels increasingly risky. This transforms Mars from humanity's next great adventure into something more sobering, humanity's refugee camp in space. But perhaps that is not entirely fair. Perhaps the drive to explore, to push boundaries, to ensure our species' survival across multiple worlds is not running away. It is growing up. Let me paint 3 possible futures for Mars and humanity. Scenario 1. The stepping stone. In this future, Mars becomes exactly what optimists envision: humanity's second home and our launching pad to the stars. By the year 2080, self-sustaining cities house millions of Martians who have adapted to their world through a combination of terraforming technology and biological adaptation. Mars serves as the perfect staging ground for asteroid mining operations that bring unprecedented wealth back to both worlds. The reduced gravity makes it easier to launch missions to Jupiter's moons, Saturn's rings, and eventually to nearby star systems. Mars becomes the shipyard of the solar system, where generation ships are constructed in the low-gravity environment. Humanity spreads across the cosmos not as refugees, but as gardeners, planting the seeds of consciousness on world after world. Scenario 2. The magnificent isolation. Mars becomes something else entirely, not a stepping stone, but a destination. Small communities of hundreds, maybe thousands, create a distinctly Martian civilization. Cut off by months-long communication delays and separated by vast distances, Mars develops its own culture, values, and even evolutionary path. These Martians, adapted to low gravity and harsh conditions, become something new, neither fully human nor alien, but a bridge between Earth life and whatever we might become among the stars. Mars does not lead us to other worlds. It teaches us that every world creates its own form of consciousness. Scenario 3. The beautiful failure. The third scenario is harder to contemplate but impossible to ignore. Despite our best efforts, Mars defeats us. The biological challenges prove insurmountable. The psychological isolation breaks colonists' minds. The technical difficulties compound faster than solutions can be developed. Mars becomes humanity's most expensive monument to hubris, a graveyard of dreams preserved in the thin Martian atmosphere. But even in failure, Mars teaches us something valuable. It forces us to develop the technologies, the resilience, and the unity necessary to truly address Earth's challenges. We fail to colonize Mars, but we succeed in saving our homeworld. Perhaps we're asking the wrong question entirely. Instead of whether Mars is a stepping stone or dead end, maybe we should ask, what does Mars make us become? Every environment shapes the life within it. The savannah made us walkers. The Ice Age made us thinkers. The agricultural revolution made us civilized. What will Mars make us? Consider the profound changes required for Mars colonization. We must learn to think in generations, not quarters. We must master closed-loop ecosystems where nothing can be wasted. We must develop technologies that can sustain life in the harshest conditions imaginable. We must learn to cooperate across vast distances and time delays. These are not just engineering challenges, they are evolutionary pressures that could fundamentally change what it means to be human. Mars might not give us new worlds to inhabit, it might give us the wisdom to properly inhabit the world we already have. The question is not whether Mars will save us from Earth's problems. The question is whether the attempt to reach Mars will save us from ourselves. Imagine your great-grandchildren, a century from now, looking back at this moment in history. Will they see the generation that chose between Earth and Mars? Or will they see the generation that realized the choice was never either or but both and? Perhaps Mars is neither stepping stone nor dead end, but something more profound. A mirror that shows us who we really are and who we might become. In reaching for Mars, we reach for the stars. In preparing for Mars, we prepare for anything. In dreaming of Mars, we discover that the greatest journey is not to another world, it is to the best version of ourselves. The red planet waits in the darkness, patient and silent, holding its secrets and challenges. Whether it becomes humanity's new home, our greatest teacher, or our most beautiful failure depends entirely on what we choose to bring with us. Our fears or our hopes, our divisions or our unity, our desire to escape or our determination to grow. Mars is calling. The question is not whether we will answer. The question is who we will be when we do.